it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. It is that time of the month again, the end of the month where we get to sit down, plan, set up our bullet journals for the following month. This particular upcoming month happens to be my favorite month of the year, June. It's my birthday month. I mean, I don't only like June just because it's my birthday month. I like it because it's, you know, we're heading into summer almost. There tends to be more sunlight during the day. It's like actually 6 p.m. right now and it's super bright outside, which is kind of unheard of, especially in Toronto. And I find that when there is like a lot of sunlight hours, I feel more creative and productive and inspired. So, you know, I'm excited to see what we can whip up this month in terms of setups and spread. Personally, I've been having a lot of fun with my bullet journal lately, so I think we can continue that heading in to June. Before we do get started, I wanted to give a quick thank you to my friends over at Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If you guys don't know about Skillshare yet, they are an awesome online learning community that I have had the pleasure to be a part of and to teach on, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the video. Without further ado, you guys know the deal already. Grab your bullet journals, get ready to plan with me. You can get all your stationery and your pens. And if you're just chilling and hanging out, a cup of tea and a snack will do you good, and let's get started. Alright, so for this month's theme, I saw a lot of suggestions from you guys saying you wanted to see me do a bright and summery theme. A lot of people wanted to see ice cream. And so then this was my thought process. I was like, okay, ice cream parlor, vintage ice cream parlor. And then somehow it turned into sort of like a vintage diner theme. And as I was looking up more and more images, I really fell in love with the 1950s mid-century modern aesthetic. So that's kind of what I ended up with. I've always loved looking up and analyzing design from different decades and time periods, whether it be graphic design, fashion design, interior design. I think I just really enjoy figuring out what the design elements are for each time period and, you know, seeing what creates that iconic image for that era. So I've mentioned this on several occasions before, but last year my August 2019 theme was one of my favorites to do. It was the whole 80s vibes, and this month's theme, it was a very similar process of me looking up, you know, 1950s diners, vintage posters and all of that, and seeing what is a common thread throughout all of these and trying to incorporate that into my bullet journal. So as you can see for this cover page, I doodled a nice diner sign. In terms of my color palette, they actually used quite a lot of color during this time period, so you could switch out my color palette for so many different other combinations and it would still look really great. But I decided to go for this pink and mint combination just because I saw a lot of images of diners that had this sort of aesthetic. I thought it was really cute. But yeah, again, I think this would be cute with like red and blue or something like that. Just kind of depends on what you're going for. For the lettering, I didn't do a typical cursive calligraphy style that I would normally do. I tried to connect the letters at the bottom almost like it was neon sign lettering. And then as you can see, I filled in the empty spaces with these elongated star sparkle shapes, which I noticed were used quite a lot in a lot of mid-century modern graphic design. And it was perfect for me because you guys know I pretty much use these star shapes in a lot of my drawings anyways, whether I'm doing a 1950s design or not, so it was right up my alley. At the bottom, I printed out this checkerboard pattern. I literally just searched up checkerboard on Google and printed out one of the first images, and I think it gives the illusion of a diner floor. It really ties everything together, and also I only used this one sheet of checkerboard pattern paper that I printed out throughout the entire setup, so it's kind of like having washi tape on hand. Next to it, of course, we have a quote page, and I used a lot more of the 1950s design elements that I noticed in the images that I was searching up. One of which being this like arrow sort of design, similar to a lot of like motel signs and stuff, and also putting different letters in these irregular shaped boxes. The quote that I used is a short one. It just says, "Good things are coming," which I thought fit the bright, optimistic, summery vibes of this theme. In terms of the colors, I pretty much only used 3 different markers for this. I feel like this theme could have easily gotten to be too much, but because I kept it with a relatively simple color palette and didn't try to doodle too many things, I mostly only did the different shapes with drop shadows at the bottom. Yes, the drop shadows are back, kind of gives it the illusion of like a 3D sign. And then of course those like star shapes and the checkerboard cutouts, but you could easily take out certain elements like the stars or the checkerboard pattern if you want it to be a bit more minimal. Moving on to my monthly calendar spread. So I started out by mapping out the grid layout for the spread. My specific dimensions for these boxes are 5 grid spaces by 5 grid spaces, and I made sure to push it more to the bottom than I normally would because I wanted to leave more space at the top for my title and the design elements that I was including. But other than that, the actual calendar spread, pretty simple, just a regular square layout. But to make it a bit more fun, I decided to turn the entire calendar into a diner sign. So to do that, I outlined it in this, I want to call it an irregular trapezoid shape. It's a shape that I saw used a lot when I was looking up my inspiration. A lot of them use this like rounded corner, irregular, wonky, parallelogram, trapezoid shape. Don't exactly know what to call it, but personally I always associate this shape with this era, so kind of works out perfectly. Again, colored it in with my teal and mint color palette. I of course added a drop shadow for good measure to make it look a bit more 3D, and also for the title at the top I was using this like skinny all caps font, which again I saw used a lot in this time period. For the title in June, I did the similar like trapezoid shapes, but I put each individual letter in the box. By the way, I always get questions about the markers and supplies and notebook that I'm using. Everything's always linked down below in case you're curious, but in terms of the markers, I'm pretty much using mild liners as well as the Crayola Super Tips, I think is the pink one. And then for my fine liners, I'm pretty much using my Tombow Fudenosuke hard tip as well as a couple Pigma microns. But yes, they are always linked down below, and I try to specify the thickness of the pen that I use as well as the color codes if there are any. I'll also link the checkerboard pattern image that I used in case you guys want to use the same one as me, because as you will see, I use it throughout the setup, including this spread where I just ripped it out and put it in the corner. When I finished this calendar spread, I realized it kind of reminded me of the Jetsons, the cartoon show. I don't know why I automatically associated it with that. I've never even seen an episode of the Jetsons, but I think it's those star shapes and that funky rounded shape at the top near June, and just in general, this sort of future vibes. Well, at least this, I feel like this is what they thought the future was gonna look like back then, if that makes sense. Next up, we have my tracker spreads. So on the left side, I'm doing my habit tracker. The layout is the same as what I always do for my habit tracker, the individual calendars. I just used a calendar stamp. A lot of people ask me where I got these calendar stamps. I actually got them as a gift, but you can find them all over the place on eBay and Amazon. Just look up calendar rubber stamps. They're really helpful in terms of saving time. But for the title, I created another diner sign, like neon sign. I noticed a lot of these neon signs stack a lot of shapes, so by the end of the setup, I was having a lot of fun kind of creating my own diner signs and just using a lot of these different elements. But other than that, I kept the individual calendars pretty simple, just a simple highlight above it and all of the habits that I'm trying to track for this month. The hardest one being no coffee. I'm trying to cut down on my coffee intake. It's going to be a long process. I know I mentioned this last month, but I'm really struggling through it, so that's kind of my main goal for this month. I'm just so dependent on it by now that I can't function without it, and yeah, if you have any coffee reduction tips, leave them down below in the comments. The mood tracker spread next to this spread I had so much fun with. When I was looking up different neon signs, I saw a lot of signs that had these stacked circles. A lot of them were like motel signs with an arrow pointing towards it. So I thought of the idea of doing my mood tracker like one of these signs, and each individual light bulb in the arrow is a different day, so I'll be coloring them in accordingly, and I think it's just so fun. I don't know, I thought it was pretty creative and definitely fits within the theme. I can't wait to fill it out and see it all completed. By the way, make sure you map out the number of circles beforehand, because I kind of eyeballed it a little and I messed up. There was not the right amount of circles, so yeah, that's why I have some empty ones, but make sure you plan that out beforehand and don't make the same mistakes that I do. But it's okay, you know, sometimes things happen, you make mistakes, and you just figure out how to move on with them. And I've become a lot more comfortable with that in my bullet journal. I know a lot of you guys ask me about, you know, making mistakes in my bullet journal. Trust me, if you've seen any of my weekly spread live streams on Twitch, you guys know that I do make mistakes quite often, and a lot of the fun is just figuring out either how to work them into your bullet journal or how to fix them, and, you know, problem solving. It's great. As Bob Ross would say, there's no mistakes, just happy accidents. Moving on, the next couple of pages are just some fun personal ones that I wanted to doodle in my bullet journal. You guys know I always love making playlist spreads, which I thought was perfect for this month because when I think of the 50s, I think of jukeboxes and music from that time and diners and all of that. So I obviously had to do a jukebox doodle that sort of coincided with my playlist spread. So on the left side, I have a quote page, and at the top it says, "Put another coin in the jukebox, baby," which is a song that, you know, when you think of jukebox, you have to think of that song. And then below it, I doodled a jukebox. How many more times can I say that word? It's starting to lose all meaning right now. Normally when I do a quote page, I make the lettering of the quote the center of attention, but for this one I tried to switch things out and made the doodle of the jukebox the focus. And then for the title at the top, when it says "Put another coin in the jukebox, baby," I have the arrow, that classic arrow neon sign, pointing towards the other spread, which is where I listed out the playlist songs. So it's kind of like a double page spread that links together, a little bit different than my normal playlist spreads. But I thought it was pretty cool and gave me more space to play around rather than trying to fit the songs listed within a jukebox or something like that. Something else that I did at the end was I actually cut out the checkerboard pattern, and instead of ripping it like I did for the other pages, I cut it out around the bottom so that it would fit nicely right underneath the jukebox and look exactly like a diner floor, which I was so proud of. Something funny that I realized was in my August 2019 bullet journal setup, the 80s one, I drew a cassette tape for the playlist spread, and then this year for April 2020 I drew a record player for the playlist spread. So at this point I've drawn all types of vintage music players. They definitely have a feeling about them that, you know, current day music players do not have. Can people buy jukeboxes nowadays? I'm going on a tangent now, but I don't know. Maybe I'll look into that and I'll buy a jukebox for myself. Back on topic, in terms of the playlist for this month, I don't actually listen to a lot of 1950s music, so the songs on this playlist aren't necessarily from that era. I do have a couple covers of 1950s songs, like there's a cover of Frank Sinatra's "The Way You Look Tonight," which I really enjoy. But in general, it's just songs that I've been enjoying. Some of them do have that like old school vibe, but as usual, I will link my Spotify playlist for the month down below in case you're curious as to what I'm jamming out to. For this spread though, I wrote out a couple of those songs in the rounded, irregular trapezoid shapes that have been throughout my setup, and I decorated it with the diamonds shapes and the circles and the stars all throughout, and playing with that color palette. This spread, like the two next to each other, were definitely the most coloring in and doodle heavy of the entire setup, but again, you can simplify if necessary. I was just kind of in a doodly mood and I was having a lot of fun playing with these different colors. I found it really interesting that I was only using 3 colors, 2 of them being very similar, like the light mint color and the darker teal color. But for some reason, even though I only had those 3 colors, it still looks pretty dynamic, and I love the use of color that I ended up with. Finally, we are at the first weekly spread of June. I always find it so satisfying when the month starts on a Monday, and that's the case for June 2020, which is just so chef's kiss. I love it. But for this spread, I'm actually doing a spread that I've been doing pretty much for the past 3 weeks. It's been working so well for me. But basically, since the days are kind of blending into one another for me, I haven't found the need for large daily boxes like I normally used to do. So I've been splitting up my spreads into categories. I do have a small weekly schedule at the top where I put, meetings and events and all of that. And a new addition to that bar at the top is actually my weekly priorities. So I split up the box horizontally, and that's where I put like my top 3 tasks that I want to get done for the day, which has been helping a lot with my productivity. The categories that I have are work, personal, which includes like errands and housekeeping things that I want to do around my apartment. I also have my shopping list, my weekly grocery shopping list, or whatever else I need to buy. I have my to watch list, any specific things that I need to watch or consume in terms of media for that week. And then finally at the bottom I have a nice little gratitude box where I just want to write something that I was grateful for during that week. Anyway, I've just found that this layout really works for me right now. I'm going to experiment with it a bit more and see if I can come up with a hybrid of like more space for dailies as well as categories. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions for that. This layout definitely works for me now, but as things start to get more and more back to normal, I feel like I definitely will need a bit more daily planning space. Going along with the entire theme of this setup, I gave each individual category its own neon diner sign almost, and I switched between the all caps font as well as the neon lettering cursive font, and I really like the way this spread turned out. It's kind of a funky one. Before I show you guys the full final flip through of my June bullet journal setup, I did just want to quickly talk a little bit about Skillshare and how much I love them. It's no secret that I love Skillshare. You guys have heard me talk about it a bunch of times by now, but I honestly just really believe in the platform and I love what they're doing. They have thousands of online classes all about illustration, design, technology, business, whatever you are looking for, they probably have a class on it, and it's the perfect place to learn new skills or develop the skills that you already have. Among those thousands of classes is my own class. If you didn't know, I do teach a class over on Skillshare and it is exclusive to the platform. It's all about creative journaling. But I also actually just personally take classes on Skillshare just to learn because I enjoy it so much. Currently, I'm taking the class, I think it's called Sketchbook Illustration, Drawing Your Day, and it's by Samantha Dion Baker. It's actually such a great class. I've been really enjoying it and I think you guys will as well. So I'll definitely leave the name to that class down below in case you guys are interested in taking that. Premium membership means you get unlimited access to all of the high quality classes on Skillshare. And the best part is that it's actually super affordable, especially when you compare to the cost of in-person workshops and classes and all of that. An annual membership costs as low as $10 a month, which is amazing. You can learn new things and improve your skills for less than $10 a month, guys. We love it. So if you guys do want to try it out for yourself, be sure to click the link in my description box below. The first 1,000 people to click the link will get a free 2-month trial. Thank you again to Skillshare for supporting the channel and for sponsoring this video, and back to the flip through. So here it is. This is my 1950s retro diner, mid-century modern June 2020 bullet journal setup. That was a lot of adjectives, but I had so much fun with this one, and just flipping through, I love the way it all looks together, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. All right, my friends, so that is it for my June plan with me. Another month has passed us by and another bullet journal plan with me video checked off. A couple little exciting housekeeping things before I show you guys the recreation. If you guys haven't seen by now, we recently announced on shop AmandaRachLee that we are releasing academic versions of the Doodle Planner. Yay! A lot of you guys asked for academic versions when we launched the 2020 Doodle Planners at the beginning of the year, and we did it. Basically, it's the exact same themes as the 2020 Doodle Planner, but it just starts on July 2020 and it ends 2021. So perfect for any of you students out there. I'm gonna put the official details on the screen of when they are available for purchase. I think it's a couple days from when this video is going up. But yeah, it's just a little mini release. We actually don't have too many available. So if you are a student and you're interested in something like the Doodle Planner, this is for you. We do have so many more exciting things coming for shop AmandaRachLee. I promise I'm working on other stuff. This was just something to satisfy all of the people who had been asking for the academic doodle planners. But yeah, you can follow us on Shop AmandaRachLee on Instagram for more updates regarding that. I feel like I'm missing some important information, but if I am, I'll be sure to leave it in the description box as usual for you guys. But now I can start showcasing your recreations from last month as usual. Look at them over here, looking all fresh and beautiful. If you do recreate this month's spread or any of my spreads from previous months, be sure to tag me on Instagram at AmandaRachLee. Tag me in the photo, in the caption, so I can scroll through and lurk on all of your beautiful spreads. I always love looking through them. Some of you guys, by the way, are super fast. Like, when this video goes up, half an hour later, there's like recreations already, which is crazy. So thank you guys. You guys are the best. I think that is pretty much it. Thank you guys for joining me for yet another Plan With Me video. Keep doodling, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye, everyone.